Hi guys, good evening. Welcome to this podcast series, and this is our episode 9. First of all, profuse apologies कि last Saturday we were not able to bring this live program to you all. Something came up and it was last minute, so we had to drop the idea. But thanks again for tuning in for today's episode, which is episode 9. And for today's episode, we have a really special guest. अभी उनका इंट्रोडक्शन मैं दूंगा बट उससे पहले मेरे साथ को होस्ट आशीष भी ज्वाइन हो चुके हैं सो आशीष
So hi, yeah.
या
Thank you, Vaibhav, and hi everyone. So the first thing that you do right now is subscribe that link. Subscribe कीजिए, notification bell icon को press कीजिए so that you don't miss any updates on the channel, and we bring to you these interesting podcasts. और जैसा वैभव ने कहा, we have got a really special guest with us. And Vaibhav, would you please introduce our guest today?
Yes. So today we have Ankit Bhateja, who is founder of a company known as Xovian Aerospace Pvt Limited. He's an entrepreneur, he's a TEDx speaker, he's an educationist, he's a researcher in the field of aerospace. So Ankit, we are really delighted today to have you on board with us in this particular podcast, and definitely for all our viewers and for us as well, you are a source of inspiration and there is so much to learn from you. So Ankit, पहला क्वेश्चन करने की अपॉर्चुनिटी जो है मैं पहले आशीष को दूंगा बिकॉज यू आर माय गुड फ्रेंड एंड आई नो अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स अबाउट यू तो आशीष I know you have a lot of curiosity to ask so many questions, so you go
Yes,
first.
thank you so much, Vaibhav and Ashish, for having me on this podcast. Yeah, so Ashish,
Yes,
please
so
go.
I'll
Yeah,
start with first of all, thanks Ankit, thanks for coming on the podcast because it's really
thanks to you.
special.
Yeah,
It's really special to have you because someone of our age is not doing a 9 to 5 job. Instead, he has chosen the path to follow his dreams. And वहीं से मेरा पहला सवाल भी आता है कि in a nation where we are all obsessed with IAS, IPS, उसकी तैयारी करके because that for our parents, for the society is success. An entrepreneur, which is much harder a job, it's much harder to achieve, it's much harder to build. उसको लोग success की तरह नहीं देखते.
right.
Then in that environment, how does one pick himself up and chase his dreams? तो आपने वो entrepreneurship की ये journey जो है वो कैसे start की? How did this thought come to you?
Yeah, so basically, like since we are working in aerospace and space domain, so I was in first year of college in 2011, and that time, like I wanted to opt for aerospace or space related, stream for
Right,
engineering or anything else.
right.
It has to be somewhat linked towards space or aerospace. So what happened that initially, like at that time in 2011, there were few options. A few colleges were there, IITs were there, some
Right,
NITs were there that were
right.
like providing the opportunity to have BTech or some other course in aerospace.
Aerospace.
So my rank was not that good that I could make it to a college that is giving this aerospace
Aerospace,
course.
right.
So other thing was that private colleges were also there, but in order to have that hands-on experience in aerospace, you need to have government infrastructure present because aerospace is very heavy investment domain. So
Mhm.
I thought of like private colleges won't be having that infrastructure, so I'll be just going for the government colleges. But
Right,
unfortunately, that rank was not that good that I could make it to any government college.
right.
So other option was that via architect, like there is exam BArch.
Right.
So at
Yeah,
that
right.
time it was BArch. Maybe now they would have changed the name.
Mhm.
So then I opted for the other option was to go via that channel, in order to design some stuff related to space. And other option was that if you are an architect, then you can also go for that colony design for other planets, because now we are planning for Mars
Oh, awesome.
colonization and all.
Mhm.
So that
Awesome.
was other channel.
Yeah.
So for that examination, there was a test which was NATA, National Aptitude Test in Architect.
Okay.
So I
Mhm.
had cleared that exam, so my rank was very good in that. So I got admission in Indraprasth University, Delhi.
Okay.
So when I got the admission at somewhat, after 3-4 days of the admission, I got to know that B.Arch course, this is of 5 years. So I had no idea that this is of 5 years.
Okay.
So that's why like I just dropped out of that thing, and
So
because
you dropped.
I
So you dropped out in the middle of the course.
yeah. So after the admission, so I
Okay.
left it
Okay.
in between because
Oh.
that was of 5 years, and I
Okay.
got to know about it at a later stage. So then third option was that I'll go for BTech in some other domain. Then that other preference was mechanical engineering, and so I got admission in Kurukshetra University. So there I took admission in computer science. Why? Because
Mhm.
the moment we reached there, it was physical counseling that was happening.
Yeah, and the
So
mechanical is a branch which
yeah,
gets full the first.
yeah. So at
Yeah.
that time, like mechanical was like the craze was there for mechanical first. So
Mhm.
that's why like no seats were left. So I had to go for CSC. So I thought that when we go in second year, they provide a chance to change the branch. So I
Mhm.
thought that after 1 year, I will just shift the branch and change it to mechanical.
Mhm.
But
So and
Ankit,
yeah.
I mean, जब
Hmm.
ये सब चल रहा था, when you were
Hmm. Hmm.
changing branch and you were getting
Hmm.
into
Hmm.
this all this thing,
Hmm.
उस पॉइंट पे क्या ये थॉट था कि मुझे अपना कुछ करना है, या फिर was it
Absolutely not. No, no,
उस समय कुछ ऐसा नहीं था?
no,
ओके
no.
ओके.
So the thing was like, yes, I had somewhere in my mind that if I, suppose I make it to some other branch, then also I will keep on pursuing something in aerospace
Mhm.
side by side. So
Yeah.
then I, took CSC as the third option, and sort of, thought of switching to mechanical in second year. So unfortunately, in second year, I was in some conference for 10 days, and during that
Mhm.
period only, they had issued the notice for branch change and all. So I couldn't able to just know that they have released
Couldn't
that
change.
notice and all that
Right,
thing. So
right,
when
right.
I
Mhm.
came, that everything had already taken place. So now
Mhm.
I was left with the CSC only. So in second year only, uh, I thought that maybe like the best way is to get in touch with some people who are already involved in this domain, or probably to find someone like-minded who is interested to work in space domain. So
Mhm.
then from there, I guess we had created a Facebook group. So there were a lot of people in that group that were,
Mhm.
they were having mutual sort of interest for space science.
Space
Space
science.
science.
So
Yeah.
that idea was like we'll be discussing various projects in that group, and on the basis of that, we can see like what
Right.
collaboratively can be done for that particular thing.
But
So
Mhm.
even
that.
at
Right.
this point,
Hmm.
there is still no thought of the entrepreneurship. So,
Yeah, right, right.
right,
So
still no thought.
actually, this entrepreneurship word, so that was not, it was there in public during that
Right,
period. It
right,
only came after the launch of Startup India,
right,
campaign.
right.
So
Mhm.
at that time, nobody was thinking about entrepreneurship or
Hmm.
a startup. These were
Right.
not the, common words in the dictionary of
Terminologies.
our
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indians.
Yeah,
Right.
So
I think
that's why
these
like
terminologies came in 2013, 2014 kind of
after 2000 2015 16, because that Startup
mhm.
India campaign launched in 2016. So during that
Mhm.
time only that craze has had generated like to opt for a startup and a
Yeah,
space
Yeah.
and I
based.
guess those
Hmm.
movies also started coming in, Wolf of Wall
Right,
Street and all those
Ah,
right,
things.
right,
right,
Yeah.
right,
right,
right.
right.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
So
Okay.
2000, then second year was 2012. So that was the time we were doing this Facebook group and all. So there
Mhm.
we used to discuss a lot of ideas and all. So slowly, like after 1 year, at the end of 2013, we thought of like why can't we just take these things on ground, because
Mhm.
discussion was only thing that we can do via Facebook
Yeah.
groups, and we can also create a discussion platform using Facebook. But otherwise, if you talk about groundwork or changing something on ground, that was totally impossible to do. So then
Mhm.
a few of us from that group thought of like doing something in space education domain. Because at
Okay.
that time, if you would have just planned for doing, something directly in core space domain, so that was impossible. because
Yeah.
first thing was that ISRO was the only organization that was working in core aerospace and space
Yeah.
stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
other aeronautical sort of organizations were like HAL and other
Right.
companies, government holdings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there wasn't nobody could have just thought of that they will be doing something directly into the space domain. So the only
Okay.
option was that if you want to start anything from scratch, then it has to be somewhat related to education. So
Mm-hmm.
But
that's
at this point, I mean, at this point, when you started thinking of space
hmm,
education,
hmm.
was this purely out of love for space,
Yeah,
or
right, right.
was it a business model in place that you
No,
had?
no, no. Business model was not there at that
It
time
was
because it
purely love.
was,
Yeah.
yes, love and passion. Because since I told you that there was a plan that I'll, plan of doing something in parallel with my,
Mm-hmm.
BTech in
Right.
computer
Okay.
science.
Right.
So then, 2013, we thought of like what exactly we can do in space education. Then we sort of started looking to different things happening all across the globe. Then we figured out that there are a lot of clubs that are there in US and European countries. So these clubs were basically trying to bring all the students and hobbies together on a single platform, and there they were doing a lot of space related activities. One of the activities that was happening in US and Europe was first was the amateur rocketry, sounding rockets basically, and other thing was
Mm-hmm.
Cansat. So Cansat is basically a miniaturized version of a satellite through which you can explain the students this is how a satellite works with the help of commercially available components. So that was basically a competition. So this competition, the problem statement was that you need to make a Cansat, and they will be
Mm-hmm.
giving the different problem definitions that in Cansat these many sensors you need to put, this type of data you need to collect, and once it is launched it should come with the help of it should descend with the help of a parachute or a drone or a glider.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of problem statements they used to give. But the problem was that with the problem statement there was a line that you need to make this Cansat under $1,000. So $1,000 means 60,000 rupees for
Yeah.
Indian students at that time, 63,000.
Mm-hmm.
So even now it is 73
Yeah.
thousand. So if we talk it from Indian context or Asia Pacific region context, so it is a very huge amount for a student in Indian college or this Indian subcontinent colleges to pay for, to go for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why like students were not interested to be the part of these competitions because the cost was a huge issue. And again, when you have made this Cansat for 65,000 rupees, then you need to pay for your flight, then you need to go there and have testing facility, you need to stay there, then again you need to pay money for that. So that was a huge investment just in order to go and present yourself with that Cansat model. So from there we got the idea like we need to make these things in such a way that the students here in the Indian subcontinent, in India also, they can also participate in these competitions, and they can also make something out of it and
Mm-hmm.
contribute to the space science and all. So from there we had created our own Cansat, which was our customized version, and that was costing somewhat around 1,500 rupees at that time. And then because that was basically a very initial model, then slowly we took that thing to the students and hobbyist community. Then we came out with the second model that was costing around 2,500 rupees. So with 2,500 rupees, that was a huge price cut when we talk about
Yeah.
from that perspective. So with that, we covered around uh, 5 to 6,000 students in
Mm-hmm.
year 2014-15. So that
Okay.
was like initial a point where we started thinking of a business model around that thing. So
But
during
man,
that
I mean,
training model only we thought of it. Yeah, yeah.
just thinking of it, that Cansat model, whose limit was that you have to develop it under $1,000.
Hmm,
In
hmm.
INR, it is 60,000 rupees, and
Yes, yes.
you guys developed it within just 2,500 rupees. right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
that's a
it
huge
wasn't
achievement.
exactly the replica. All the things were not there. We just
Hmm.
included the things which were necessary.
Necessary, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right, right.
So
The
that
the
sort of thing
minimalistic
we did.
model kind of thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Another thing was that even whatever we had included, that was also, facing a huge price cut, because in India, the components that we buy, it cost
Hmm.
way less than the components that you procure from US. So
Right.
that's why, like, that
Hmm.
was also a major point due
And
to which
Ankit,
that price cut had occurred.
I can totally relate.
Hmm.
I mean, just what you said to the another instance, which was the Gravity movie that was
Hmm.
in Hollywood, which was
Right,
of
right,
500
right.
crores, and we had our
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mangalyaan.
Hmm.
Right,
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
right, right.
Absolutely.
this
Yes,
is something
yes.
similar to that, and kudos to you for doing that. I mean, this is phenomenal. This is fantastic because we really don't have any such infrastructure, and that leads
Hmm.
to the second question, which we and Vaibhav
Hmm.
both would want to know. And Vaibhav, you could please ask Ankit if you have that question in your mind, which we were discussing about.
Yeah, I mean, I just now I want to know, I mean, talking about core about your business right now, since you already told us so many things about your journey, that how this entire concept got conceptualized from, making that concept and bringing that cost from 60,000 to just
Hmm.
maybe 2,500.
Hmm.
So now further, when we talk about your business model and when we talk about the inception of Xovian Aerospace, how did you do that particular thing? How did you create such a kind of thing? Because for a business model, first of all, you need customers. And right now in the field of aerospace, I think the only customer we have is ISRO. So
Right.
how
Hmm.
did you, consolidate everything and you just got it started from there? I think your primary customer right now is also ISRO. So how did
And
that entire idea got
uh,
conceptualized into a business model, and now how is it working?
Yeah, so I told, like, till 2016, we had covered almost 6,000 students. So
Mm-hmm.
at that time also, this Startup India campaign and all these things were in very initial phase.
Right, right.
And again, if we would have, not started anything in 2012, and we would have thought of these things in 2016, then also it was, at that time also, it was difficult to do anything in space. So we
Yeah.
continued with this space education model till end of, I guess, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So we were working from Delhi only. So so what happened that by end of 2017, like, we were doing all these things. Then there was a conference there in Noida. So
Okay.
there we had met some of the ex-ISRO scientists who were from
Mm-hmm.
Bangalore, and they were a part of a university that was having an autonomous R&D cell, which was
Mm-hmm.
operated by ex-ISRO scientists.
Okay.
So we had an initial conversation with them that we are trying to do something in space domain, and we had started with space education, and this is currently what we are doing. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to, extend this extend our horizons into other things as well. So then they said that you come to Bangalore, and we'll, try to have some discussions, and we'll see what all the things we can figure out. So
Mm-hmm.
then in 2017, we actually, conference was in 2016. So that
Okay.
conversation happened at that time. In 2017, we went to Bangalore to have a brief conversation.
Okay.
So in that brief conversation, it was like, they were also, like, interested to, support youngsters, because they had already lived their lives in,
Mm-hmm.
35, 40 years in ISRO. So now
Mm-hmm.
they obviously wanted to help youngsters to, pursue their passion and help them with developing something in
yeah,
space
and
domain.
also
Mm-hmm.
pretty much
Hmm.
create a culture in India regarding space.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
right, right.
So at that time also, like, suppose if we would have started anything at that time also in 2017, then also there wasn't any policy for space science. So what exactly had happened that in 2016, government had launched Startup India campaign, So this
Mm-hmm.
Startup India campaign was applicable for all the ministries apart from DOS, Department of Space. Why? Because
Okay.
space was kept out of this Startup India campaign until this 2020 September.
Oh my God.
So there wasn't any support available for startups that were working in space science. um, we cannot just directly blame the government that they kept it out of that
Right,
radar.
right,
Why? Because it is a national security area.
right.
Even defense is
Mm-hmm.
also there, so defense also was kept out of that campaign. And in 2018 only, I guess, they had launched certain campaigns around defense startups and all,
Okay,
with the
okay.
launch of IDEX and other schemes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, like, it was a, sort of a security issue. So that's why probably government would have
Yeah.
kept it from that campaign.
Yeah, and
So
what Elon
hmm,
Musk has been able to do
hmm,
for the
Mm-hmm.
world, I would say, is
hmm.
he has successfully shown that space can also be privatized,
Yeah.
Right,
since
right,
private
right.
players can enter it.
Yeah, so these private players in US, we started seeing from the year 2010-11. So it is almost a decade, uh,
Mm-hmm.
when the privatization started happening in US and European countries.
But their true success happened when Falcon succeeded.
Right, right.
So that is
Mm-hmm.
when the world came to know, okay, this
Right,
can be done.
right,
This can be done.
right. So that was
Yeah.
the turning point for global space industry, where a craze started popping up in this sector.
Yes,
So I also know that when we were working from Delhi, so people here were not at all aware of ISRO. So they had
absolutely.
no
Yeah.
idea what exactly ISRO is. So
Right.
then in 2016, 17, no, it was, I guess, 18 or 19, when ISRO had launched those 104 satellites.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
That
for the
was the
country.
time then, that craze
Yes,
actually
yes,
took up, and all the people were, all
right,
the citizens were talking about it.
right, right.
Yeah.
And that was the point I observed, that in North India also we started
Hmm.
seeing some craziness, some curiosity related to space science.
People
Because
started talking about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And in
because when
fact,
in 2000, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I think in fact the Mangalyaan mission and lunar landing,
Hmm,
all
hmm.
these things, and Prime Minister himself covering all these events,
Right,
Right, right,
being
right,
right.
present in the headquarters of ISRO,
Hmm, hmm,
appreciating the
hmm.
yes,
scientists. So
Yeah,
all
government
this,
has played an important role, in
yeah,
right,
bringing up this to the public. So
right.
yeah,
that was
right,
a
right.
main role played by the government. So I also saw that whenever we were conducting those education activities in 2015, 16, so there were hardly any activities which we were conducting in North Indian region. Most of the activities were in South India.
South
Why?
India.
Okay.
Because students were curious about space science there in South India, and there was a
Yeah.
gap here in North India.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
if we could say, because HAL is in Bangalore, because
Mm-hmm.
ISRO is
Is
over there,
right,
is over
right.
right?
there.
So
Right.
All
all
of
those
this aerospace
yeah,
sector is centralized there in
South
Hyderabad,
India.
Bangalore,
Yeah.
Chennai, and all
Yes,
these
yes, yes.
areas,
Right,
Tirunantpuram.
right, right.
Yeah.
So
So when we met those ISRO scientists, they called us there. We had a meeting. So there, actually they were building up a student satellite in that university.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a opportunity to see what exactly is happening during the development of that satellite. So we were
Mm-hmm.
actually able to see what process a satellite goes through during its development phase. So there,
Mm-hmm.
we had sort of learnings that we had in the space development side, like what exactly are the things that are being done here and how these things are done. So they were having all the space related facilities there, so we had a chance to see and somewhat get involved in those things. So that was the turning point, and then we sort of started shifting our gears from space education to other things. We are still
right,
doing
Mm-hmm.
that. So
right,
Yeah.
after 2018, we had stopped this education thing, because not stopped, I can say paused as of now.
Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
that time like we totally had put
Mm-hmm.
our
Right.
focus towards the some of the developments in core aerospace sector.
Right.
Then we were looking at different challenges that can be solved with the help of
Mm.
space science or space sector or satellite technology. Then we had identified like some of the challenges, and now after 2 years, because 2018 we started working on these things. Then in 2019 we got came out with an idea and started working around it, and that we had presented to some government departments. From there we had got certain funding, and we
Yes.
also had some
Mm-hmm.
of the our earnings reserved from our education business.
Right.
That also we had put into that thing. And that was the year like 2018 we sort of shifted our gears towards the core space domain. So
Mm-hmm.
currently like we are developing a passive radar based satellite constellation. So that is
Okay.
basically a passive radar payload which is
Right.
which will be a part of the satellite when the
Mm-hmm.
constellation will be deployed. So currently like its development is almost over, and we are going through the testing phase. And we are also in the process of raising further funds for the deployment of the satellite constellation.
Mm-hmm. I
That's
mean,
So this is
that's
the full
amazing.
journey from
Yeah. Yeah.
2012 to
But
till
this
now
this 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 is
2025.
so.
an amazing journey. I mean,
Yes, that's
really.
truly amazing. And
Yeah.
Ashish, I think when people talk about entrepreneurs, when people talk about startups, every media houses and everybody, you see your story or any other entrepreneur
Right.
website, they just list down the success of these entrepreneurs. But I think
Right.
this is the on the ground journey which Ankit is telling us,
Yes.
how this entire idea was conceptualized into a full working company. And as he said that initially government was not supporting in the Startup India campaign, and later in September 2020 space.
Government also, and then the infrastructure was also not present.
Yeah.
Even now also it
Yeah.
is not present, but slowly things are changing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I
Hmm.
think it's like years of hard work which Ankit and team has put into this business. And I think it's not about money, it's not about anything, it's just about passion, which has drove Ankit and his entire team into this particular field, isn't that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And absolutely. I mean, on that note, Ankit, I mean, your story is, I mean, amazing. It's
Amazing,
inspiring.
amazing.
You are an inspirational figure for us. But at the same time, all these stories, all these inspirational journeys, they are never, completed without failures. And how do
Okay.
you overcome that failures? So, मैं जानना चाहता हूँ, what were, I mean, were there times when you just thought of giving it up, and what kept you going then?
Yeah, so I'll go back to 2014. So basically, this Cansat that I was telling you, so it
Yeah.
is launched with the help of a rocket. So rocket is like a amateur rocket. So there are two types: amateur rocket and sounding rocket. So sounding rocket is basically metallic body in itself. So that is like
Okay.
a unguided sort of missile. So that goes to an you put a payload, which is basically the Cansat on top of the rocket. So that acts
Mm-hmm.
as an payload. So that goes to an altitude of 2 to 3 kilometers, and there it ejects that can, and that can descends with the help of a parachute. So during that time of flight and that journey, so it captures the readings from the atmosphere, like humidity levels, wind velocity, temperature readings, luminosity, what is the light conditions and all. So all that sort
Mm-hmm.
of readings it collects, and while it descends, it sends those readings with the help of a transmitter to the ground station, which is basically your laptop. And in
Mm-hmm.
that laptop, you collect that data and see it in a form of a graph. So that basically gives you idea what exactly is happening in the nearby surroundings. So this was the
Mm-hmm.
basic task of a CanSat, and similar like activity is done with the help of a high altitude balloon. So whatever you are doing here, you take it to next level. And if you want to collect more data, you want to capture the pictures of the Earth surface or cosmic radiation data, you change this hardware and put it on a balloon platform that goes to an altitude of 30-35 kilometers.
So
From there, it collects the data.
basically, I mean, you try to get more height.
Yeah, yeah.
Try to
So
get
it's
more
like a
height.
weather balloon concept.
Right,
So
right.
that also we were
Okay.
doing, and this Cansat we were launching with the help of a rocket. So
Mhm.
that then what happened that DGCA had put a ban on flying objects in 2014. So you would have heard of this drone policy which came up
Yeah,
before
right,
these
right,
drones
right.
were
Yeah.
banned.
Due to
So
Yeah.
security
that
reasons and
happened,
all
yeah.
those things.
So
Yeah.
that happened in 2014.
Okay.
So till that time, we were doing sounding rockets, that metallic and all. So we had faced a lot of blasts and all with the rocket. And there is one time what we were doing is that we were launching it some place from Haryana. We were doing the testing. So what happened that there was a workshop nearby, metallurgy sort of workshop, milling, drilling, metallic sort of
Mhm.
activities that were happening. So we were launching it from the fields, and then what happened that rocket like just took off like this, and then directly went to the shed of that
Oh
workshop.
my God.
That shed fully fell off on the machinery, and
That's
some of the stuff got destroyed.
that's like a
So
Diwali rocket, right?
yeah,
Ha.
you can compare it with Diwali rocket, but with the power can be
Much more
compared
powerful.
100 time.
Yeah.
Yes, 100
100
time.
times. Right.
Yes,
Amplified.
Mhm.
right, right.
Yeah, you
So
imagine it,
that
it
was
took the
one
entire
time.
shed off,
Yes,
we can
yes,
imagine
yes.
how much powerful it was.
Right, right. So
And
so
so what
that's why
were the
like
repercussions?
what happened that the machinery was safe.
Mhm.
So that was nothing like no trouble for us, because if it would have destroyed the machinery and all, that would have costed us huge to just to pay back the amount of that machinery and all. But yes, it got sorted out. And so after that 2014 we had stopped these rocket
Sounding
launches. Yes,
sounding
sounding
rockets.
rockets.
Yeah.
Then we had to shift to amateur rockets, that are
Amateur
basically
rockets.
cardboard rockets. So
Uh-huh.
that
Oh, okay.
goes to an altitude of 100 to 200 meters.
Right.
So from
Obviously.
2 to 3 kilometer,
You got
100
to
to
do
200 meter.
100 to
Yes.
200
Mm.
meters.
So that is still there. So we are yet to see a policy around these sounding rockets in India. So
Right.
that is still part of a ban. Drone policy is there. Probably soon we will be seeing some sort of policy related to sounding rockets and education activities.
Right.
Mhm.
So that was one time. So at this time, what we were doing that we were staying in Delhi. So we were not having enough money to pay our dues for rent and all.
Okay.
So that was the challenging situation there. So power department had came to cut the lines, and there was no
Oh.
power in the house that we were living there,
Okay.
because we were not having enough money to pay the rent and
Pay
all.
the rent.
So that was one down phase, because
But I'm sure, Ankit, at that point of
hmm,
time, I mean, your parents would have spoke to you that, Ankit, why don't you take
no,
a
no,
job?
I had not mentioned it to my parents.
Oh,
So
you
I had
you
not
did.
told. Yes, yes.
That's brave.
So
That's
why?
brave.
Why? Because what happens that even in friend circle also I had not told. Why? Because what happens that we were working on a space related stuff.
Mhm.
So if you are looking for suggestion, in order to get out of that problem, so
Mhm.
the person who is working in that domain only can suggest you how to get out of that trouble. But the
Yeah,
person
right.
who is not from that domain, how could that person suggest you? What maybe he can just provide you a suggestion, or
Ah.
parents can also give you the suggestion. But what happens that that thing which I am trying to point out here, that you want to pursue the same direction, you want to walk on the same path, but the solution you are looking for is just to cross the speed breaker that you had that you were facing at that time. So now if
Mhm.
you ask for the suggestion, instead of giving solution to for crossing that speed breaker, the person will suggest you an alternative path. Maybe just I'll
Mhm.
refer you
Right,
for a job or something.
right,
So
right.
Yeah,
that
right,
was
right.
something which I was not looking for. That's why we just kept
So
it
you
with
were
the
determined. You were determined.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
Awesome.
after 1 2 months, things were fine. We had got some orders and all. So after that, it was fine. So yes, that was a major, downfall and phase for us, which was struggling at that time. But now the things have changed slowly. Slowly, things change. So actually, the other problem was that this was 2016. So I had graduated in 2015. So when you
Mm-hmm.
are in college, you have a backing of college that if you fail, you will be, going for a degree, then going for a placement.
Yeah.
But when you are out of college, there is no backing, there is no one backing you in this open world. So that was
Yeah.
the, other, sort of thing that had created this challenge, because that was the first time we were seeing these things in the open world without the backing of college. So maybe that was also one of the adding factors to this. But now,
Mm-hmm.
yes, slowly, slowly things changed, and now these are the things which we are doing. I've already told you that
Great. Yeah.
satellite stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so amazing, and
Hmm.
this brings me towards the last question, Ankit, which we have is, and what are the future plans for your company? We would really like to know that. I mean,
Hmm.
do we expect any disruption from your end into the
Hmm.
space world? Just we are too much anticipating that
Hmm.
what would be the future plans for you for Zovian Aerospace.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
Ankit
So
Bhateja
yeah.
India's Elon Musk? That's what
Yes.
we
No, I don't see it that way.
yeah.
It's like, for me, it's like, if you're interested is there in something and you are happy in doing that, you can just
Right.
keep on pursuing that.
Right.
It depends on a lot of factors whether you will be facing success or not. So
Absolutely.
there are a lot of factors. So
Right.
we are just
Mhm.
doing work at our end, but yes, we'll try to do as
Yeah.
much as we can.
Right.
So
Yeah.
our future plan is like, so by utilizing these satellite technologies
Mhm.
for a sustainable future, and to put as much effort as we can with the help of these satellite technologies to create some sustainable solutions around it. So
Right.
currently the thing that we are developing, it's almost developed. The testing is going on.
Yeah.
So that is
Mhm.
basically a passive radar. So what happens that we'll be putting this passive radar on a satellite in lower Earth orbit.
Right.
Mhm.
So lower Earth orbit satellites will be there. So what these satellites will be doing is that there are existing 100 plus navigation satellites.
Mhm.
Okay.
GPS is there,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
GLONASS is there, IRNSS is there, Baidu is there. So all these
Mhm.
countries, they are having their regional as well as global satellite constellations.
Right.
Mhm.
So what is the purpose of these existing satellites is to tell the GPS location in our cell phones. So we use it in our navigation and all. So the location
Mhm.
that we see in the map application is coming with the help of these satellites.
These
So
Right.
that
satellites.
means
Okay.
that all these satellites are present all across the globe at a particular given time. So
Mhm.
whenever you are, and if you are in, forest, or if you are in a rural area or urban area, wherever you go, you'll be having these signals that
Mhm.
will be giving that GPS data. So now
Yeah.
that means that all across the globe, these signals are present. So at the same time, what is happening that all these signals, when they strike Earth's surface, they get
Mhm.
reflected back to space. So
Yeah.
Right.
after the reflection from the surface, these signals are just waste signals. So
Right.
there is no use of these signals. So
Okay.
now these satellites, navigation satellites, are in the medium Earth orbit. It ranges from different altitude. So these satellites just send the signals to the surface, and it reflects back to space. So now we
Mhm.
are putting our satellites in the lower Earth orbit. So
Right.
these satellites will be tapping on to these reflected
These
signals that are
reflectors.
waves signals,
Right.
and then utilizing that data to tell what is happening on the Earth's surface. So
Right.
what is happening in the oceans, what is happening on the surface, agriculture, and all these domains. So this
Right.
Mhm.
data can be utilized for a lot of uh, you know industries, for defense applications, for
Mhm.
climate change,
Right.
for maritime aspects. So this is what we have developed, and so this will be around 50 to 55 satellites that will be putting, and the size of the satellite will be, if you directly compare it, it if you put that satellite next to the 2-liter soda can, that will be
Okay.
the size of the satellite, just like a shoebox.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
30 by 30, 30 by 30 cross 10 cross 10 will be the dimension of the satellite in
Dimensions of the
centimeters.
Mm-hmm.
satellite. Right.
Okay.
So multiple satellites will be there, and with the multiple satellites we can reduce the latency and provide high resolution data for various industries.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is currently what we are doing, and we are expecting like next 3 to 4 years to deploy this type of constellation.
But
That's
Ankit, this
amazing.
is this is phenomenal. I'm
Hmm.
मुझे अब शब्द नहीं मिल रहे हैं how to कि मैं इसको कैसे वो करूं, but this is amazing. And अब हम लोग आ चुके हैं अपने इस पॉडकास्ट के एंड की तरफ, और जाते जाते जो अंकित, मैं, वैभव और जितने भी व्यूअर्स हैं वो जानना चाहेंगे आपसे, सी एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर व्हाट्स योर मैसेज टू ऑल ऑफ अस, बिकॉज जैसे मैं बोल रहा था कि हमारी जो कंट्री है वो ऑब्सेस्ड है विद
Yeah.
आईएएस
Hmm.
आईपीएस गवर्नमेंट
Hmm.
एग्जाम्स ऑल
Hmm.
दिस थिंग्स. They don't look probably towards entrepreneurship like you look, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people go into MBA and then they come out doing jobs for other companies, but the whole point of getting into MBA was to get that entrepreneurship
Right.
logic,
Right.
right? To create
Yeah.
jobs. You
Yeah.
create jobs when you go into MBA, not do job for someone else. So आपका message for
Hmm.
everyone क्या रहेगा?
क्या रहेगा?
Yeah, so there are two factors here. There is one set of factors that we can change from our side, and there is other set of factors that we need time. Time will automatically change these things.
Mm-hmm.
So that factor is like the thinking of the society, and you know our relatives and all that,
Mm-hmm.
because that mentality is there. In Indian mindset is there that
Right.
we need to go for that government job
Government
and all. So it
jobs,
will
right?
take time to change. But
Right.
on the other hand, what we can do is that, basically, like in our schools and in our colleges, we are mostly, taught that you just clear this exam. So life is just
Right.
like you write
Yeah.
the exam, you get the marks,
Yes.
and then you go for a
Yes.
job. This is
Right.
what
Yeah.
it is. But
Hmm.
you need to see that the students or the youngsters who are trying to look forward to the alternatives, they need
Right.
to focus on the skill set. It should not
Right.
be that they are just going through the books and
Mm-hmm.
writing the exam, that's it. So that is not going to give you the
And I'm sure,
knowledge.
Ankit, then
Hmm.
by that logic, you would be happy with the new education policy that's gonna come.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
You would be
Yeah.
So,
happy.
Right.
so
Right.
there has to be difference in schooling and education. So
Right.
currently we are going through the schooling process. So we need
And
to
not
shift our
education.
gears to the education process.
That's
So once that is changed, then that skill set focus mindset is there. Then we can see that we can work out to solve various problems around us. And other thing is like for the school students, if you are watching us, or some college students are there. So you need to see that whenever you are in college or in school, you need to see that don't just go for studies that I need to go for first, second rank in my
right. Right.
college or in
Yeah.
class. That mentality should not be there. You should
Yeah.
be looking for extracurricular activities. Even Vaibhav
Yeah.
also knows that we were there
Yeah.
in school, so
Too many
we were involved in
extracurricular
a lot of
activities.
dance, music, this
Right. Right.
musical instruments and all. So that
Mm.
Yeah.
plays an important role, because when you do different activities, your mindset changes. So whenever, suppose I'm working in space domain and I have experience in music, in art, in graphic designing, or
Right.
photography, for an instance, so that different thought processes that you have
Right.
attained through other domains, they
Right.
also help you to share
Look in your
the
domain.
thing that you are doing in
So
some other domain.
basically, you
So
can bring
that
the best of different worlds into one. Right.
right. So
Yeah.
that changes the
So
thought process. So
right.
this is basically something which youngsters
Right.
and entrepreneurs that are trying to look for their passion, pursue their
Should
passion,
go
they
for.
should always take care of this thing.
But this is amazing, Ankit. I mean, Thanks a lot. I can't thank you enough for coming on this podcast and sharing the entire life story and all this beautiful things that you've shared. The difference
Yeah.
between education and schooling and all those things. And Vaibhav, I should thank you for bringing your friend on this podcast because all the viewers would be
Yeah.
enthralled seeing this. So just now, go ahead, people. Just subscribe our channel, press the bell icon, and like kar do yaar. Ankit has come here and he has shared all this beautiful story and all the achievements, and it's been inspiring. So thanks a lot, Ankit, and over to you, Vaibhav.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Thank you
with
so much.
this,
Yeah.
I would also like to extend my thanks to Ankit for accepting this invite, and we are truly honored to have him on this podcast. And definitely, I
No
mean,
problem. Yeah. Thank you.
obviously, we both have already got so much to learn from you, and this is for all the viewers as well. It makes sense to tell them that that tip of the iceberg is built on huge ice in the ocean. So that's the amount of hard work which you put in for years and years to reach to that particular level which Ankit has reached right now. And one thing more, I would definitely like to tell all our viewers, if they want to connect with Ankit on any of the social media platform, those are listed in the description of this video. Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram is available everywhere, so they can connect with him, they can ask for his
Yeah, if some
suggestions.
queries are there, like if you see like a lot of queries, then probably we can, in future we can plan for other session if you want. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so
definitely.
if someone wants to text, so all of social medias, I have same username, Ankit Bhateja. So you just type there on any social media, I'll be there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Ankit,
That's
a
so
lot of
nice of you.
internship, offers are gonna come.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, that's so nice of you,
Hmm.
Ankit. And I think with this, we would like to close our podcast here. Thanks again, Ankit, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much.
chalo.
Honor to
Okay
be,
then.
part of this podcast. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks to all our viewers for watching us. Keep listening to us. We'll meet next Saturday live at 9 p.m. Thank you.